A content creator named Reja says, Igbo men and their misogyny. My uncle fully said having all girls is the equivalent of having no children. He said his kids are nobody. And he has 5 girls. That's how they seize all financial help. It took my mom and their mom to convince them to speak to their father, and he had to apologize because once that help stopped, he was struggling. So his children are nobodies, but they were actually helping him. The nerve, the gall. She says, what's funny is if he fully brought my sisters into that stupidity, because my dad has all girls, I fully had to remind them that all the boys in our family, completely useless. It's the girls that's really doing things, and the girls the fathers are coming to for help. My head was so hot that day. She continues with, my mom was so annoyed as well. She told the uncles to bring all the boys they have in the family, and she would bring the other daughters since they want to compare. Let's see who's more useful. You know what, though? I think that we're at a point in life where we know and understand that the misogyny is real. It's baked into the cake, no matter where. It's a culture. It's a culture of misogyny. It's just different flavors. And I'm so glad that women are acknowledging it and saying it out loud, putting it into the public square so that we know that this is not normal. And if they want to call you useless, then be useless. Be exactly that and make them hold their own nuts. Uppity African says this is such a global problem. They hate girl children, but that's who helps them financially with emotional issues, booking and driving to appointments, donating literal kidneys and caretaking when they're old or sick in diapers and frail. But yes, girl children are nothing. Ew. And she's right. This is global. This is global. They see girls and women as servants. They see girls and women as servants, and women and girls need to know and recognize that you are more than just the caretaker or the servant of the family. It looks like Walada took exception. Auntie, stop your ranting if you don't understand the man. By tradition, women do look after their parents more because they start family early. So by the time their parents is old, they have little financial burden. Two, his statement was wrong. It just didn't come out well. I don't know what that. It sounds like another just trying to placate her, and I don't know. It's still saying that women are nothing more than servants. We have a not all men type of thing. This is not an Igbo thing. This is not an Igbo men thing only. You don't tag it on them. Don't just put it on Igbo men, put it on all the men. Shogun says this is not an Igbo men problem, but the men in your family. Okay, just hers, nobody else. Asa says, I wouldn't think people will still have these types of conversations. Wow. Especially since he has even raised them, watched them grow. They are grown. Grown now, and even sending help home. But we have to have these conversations until women and girls are seen as more than just useless. It's sad, but that's where we are. Your favorite life coach says, whew, this said a lot. Black Women's Excellence says, Mom not playing. Chu took some exception to this. He says, most of the bitter feminists we see out here all bear mostly Igbo names. They resent men and vow to unalive men if they get a chance to escape the consequences. My problem is they generalize the atrocities of their men. All men are not your Igbo men since y'all want to unalive men. Women are not out here taking men out. What is he talking about? He says in some Igbo cultural areas, the widow is subjected to oath to prove her innocence from eliminating the husband. In some extreme cases where the widow has no male child, she is relieved of her husband's properties, which are inherited by the kinsman. This doesn't prove that Igbo women are taking out men. Like literally, this seems fallacious. This person says that Igbo misogyny will be your first radicalization. It was my first when my uncle told me that it's my husband that'll inherit my mother's property and lands when I marry. And that's the thing. these misogynist men are the ones that push women into being feminists because we see how things are unfair. And like, even without knowing any history of feminism, it makes you want things to be a little bit more fair so that women and girls are not just being servants. Cindy says there's misogyny and then there's Igbo misogyny, and they'll call it culture. So Igbo women and feminism needs to be 5 and 6. Cheers to all the angry, bitter, beautiful, rebellious Igbo feminists. Even when you're on your own, will fight you. Keep going. Hi says, I have a friend that in her family they have 4 girls. The father wasn't satisfied and wanted a boy, so he went outside to impregnate another woman, and the other woman ended up having 3 girls. So they're at 7 girls altogether. The devaluation of girls is such a mess. Kaylin says, that is literally your family's problem, you fool. The fact that you used your family as a yardstick for a population of over 15 million people shows how stupid you are. Like I said, some people really took exception to this woman's post. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Okay, so this man right here made a post saying, she said I was the first guy to ever treat her right. I'm so cooked. And then he uses this. This man is looking despondent, or maybe he's in despair or something like that. Then it turns to a scene of the same man deleting 1,900 items. And Sarah Lai says the male loneliness epidemic making more and more sense by the day. Like, a lot of this is self-inflicted, but if a woman has gone through some things with boyfriends, it must be her fault. She must be damaged. And then these men have to just let them go on their own. So Pedro says, what does the OP even mean? I can't understand the original tweet at all. Like, how is that a bad thing? Doesn't it mean you're a good person? And then Sarah Lai says, they don't want to date anyone with baggage. They don't want to date anyone with bad experiences or trauma. They just want to switch to a fresh, clean slate with no problems rather than look out for her and try to do right by her. And the thing is, these people, they will inflict trauma and then look at other women with trauma as if they're the bad thing, knowing that they have probably inflicted trauma before. Super Testicular says, I get this part, but can someone explain they're apparently having to delete 1,900 items of what, according to the video? Is that even relevant? I think that they're deleting like pictures and stuff. And then Sarah Lai says, I think it's supposed to show the end of the relationship, deleting all the photos and memories of your partner. Princess Durfee says, I thought it was supposed to be text. I mean, you get the point though. Now, this person, Shire, says, I say the male loneliness epidemic is actually just evolution doing its thing, and we should let it run its course. And then they shares 2 screenshots. This one over here is how people voted by race and gender. And this one is self-deletion rates by race per 100,000. So self-deletion rates by race per 100. So now here we have the greenish blue is like female, the dark blue is male, and then we have the breakdown by race or ethnicity. So the top line is American Indian, and it looks like they have a self-deletion rate of 33.6. The next highest is white males, then Hispanic males, then Black male. It looks like Black and Hispanic are like neck and neck right there. But you look at the women are much lower than all of these. So the male loneliness epidemic is a real thing that needs to be considered, but they won't look at themselves. And then Shire shares this as well. In 2022, men died by self-deletion 3.85 times more than women. White males accounted for nearly 70% of all of those deaths in 2022. Pews accounted for more than half of those deaths. And like Sarah Lai says, a lot of this male loneliness epidemic is them doing this themselves. They jump online. They are only railing on women. They're railing on women. They don't seem to see women as human with human experiences. They just treat women like objects. And then as more and more women are pulling back, the women are just going their own way. These self-deletions will continue to happen. So let's look at some of these retweets. Saul says, what y'all don't understand about a guy being the first to treat a girl right is that she's probably not going to treat the guy right in return. Now, we don't know this, but they treat women like a big group project, like we all have one type of brain. That's how they treat us. Bigoted Breadstick says, if a woman says this to you, there is a very high chance she will either self-sabotage your relationship or treat you like, or even cheat. They can see into the future. They can see into the future. The former is often due to not really knowing how to deal with this, and it takes a lot of patience and strength to see past that. Ladies, another exhibit of why you just don't tell men your trauma. Don't tell men your trauma. They're going to hold it against you one way or another, or they're going to weaponize it against you. Bill says, unsurprising that a bunch of women don't get it. They never will. And the thing is, honestly, I don't care. If you want to leave a woman because she hasn't been treated right by other men, then you deserve not to have a relationship, because a lot of women get treated like by men, and that's not necessarily the woman's fault. But I mean, so what are we supposed to do? This person says, you've never had to apologize for the sins you haven't committed. So basically, they're saying that they always have to apologize for other men. And then he's laughing. He's using a laugh reaction. Now, Poe says, let me explain. It's common man lore to know that when a girl says the code words, you're the first guy to ever treat me right, you have a 90% chance of being dumped or cheated on or done dirty in general in 2 to 4 months. It just is what it is. The source, trust me, bro. Or the source, his butt. They just pulled numbers out of nowhere. And you already know it's going to be some BS when they're calling women girls. And then he puts in quotes, men are evil because they want a girl with no baggage. And where do we find these? Like, men are the ones typically that are, traumatizing women by lying, using manipulation tactics, future faking, all that kind of stuff. Men are the ones doing that. So why is it the fault of the girl? A woman. Oh, Lord Jesus. He says, no, it's just those words are like a pew pew on the table in a movie. It's usually a matter of when, not if. It means she's usually in a negative cycle of being attracted to terrible men. Now, if she's attracted to terrible men, wouldn't that make you a terrible man? And you are on a short, soft patch in that long, bumpy road of her until she finally or never gets over that. And like I said, if this is how you want to do, you want to extract yourself, then just go ahead and do it. Oh, he has more. You rarely want to be a girl's first ever good boyfriend, because that means she has a habit of being attracted to and picking bad ones and not understanding that. Just facts. That's a fact. Fact pulled out of his butt. And the thing is, if she has a habit of being attracted to bad ones, like I said earlier, this person must be a bad one. This person says, I'm not shocked you are judging all women based on an overwhelming experience of men being terrible partners. Exactly. Men here, all the men I've known in relationships have been and think they have to protect themselves instead of why can't men treat women decently? And that's my point. Why can't men treat women decently? That is the crux of the conversation that we need to explore. Join the conversation. Let's explore that part. Why can't men treat women decently?
Welcome back to Your Veggies, My Choice. Today we are going to be learning about all the different ways to chop, mince, and sever these beautiful veggies my friend Dawn brought over. See, we've got a little fat one, a bent one, and a long and shockingly thin one. Now there are so many different methods to chop, 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 but the most important part of all the methods is to make sure you hold your veggies right at the base so that they don't try to squirm and get away from you. You also want to make sure that your knives are sharp, because as we all know, sometimes you don't have a lot of time to finish the job. Before your family comes home, that is. And sometimes if I'm in a real hurry, I'll even use special tools to get things done. All right, now real quick, we're gonna cut to a commercial break, but definitely come right back because I am gonna show you my favorite way to really smash some potatoes.